they want to know about the accent to start off with.
Oh yeah. I live in Raleigh, but I'm originally from England, so
All right.
there we go.
I had them ask themselves a couple of questions in their sketchbooks while we're waiting on you guys. You go ahead and take off whatever you want to talk about.
Sounds good.
All right, go ahead.
So ready to go?
Yep.
All right, guys. So today I brought a few specimens to share with you. I brought some fossils, some vertebrate material, mainly alligator, and then some invertebrates. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the fossils first, and then talk a little bit more about the alligators and the spiders and things in a little bit more detail. So one of the first things I want to share with you is this specimen. Does anybody there have an idea what this is? It's a fossilized specimen.
Let me ask him real quick. Anybody? Raise your hand, please. Yeah. Sedimentary rock.
Sort of right, yeah. It's a fossil. So what kind of fossil do you think it is?
What were you going to say? Yeah, fossil. From a fish, man?
It's actually the fossilized tooth from a mammoth.
Alright, cool.
So yeah, it's a molar tooth from a mammoth. So that's a grinding surface right there. And you see, it's a mammoth tooth. It's like the size of my head. It's pretty big. So yeah, this is material we can find in North Carolina. So yeah, it's one really cool fossil find that we have in our room in the Naturalist Center where I work. And it's some of the kind of things you can find down in some of the sediments where you guys are as well. So it's a pretty cool fossil. Next thing is this. Any ideas what this could be?
Alright, let me get their minds out of the gutter real quick. Alright, what do you think it is?
It does look like a tusk or a horn, but it's actually a rib bone. It's a fossilized rib bone, and it's from a sea cow or a manatee. We're not sure which one. They're pretty closely related. So the manatees and things that you have down in Florida actually used to be ranging up here in North Carolina. There's a couple of extinct species. And you can find these fossils down on the Sounds in North Carolina. They wash up every now and again, and this one was actually brought into us about 5 or 6 months ago. And our paleontologist here identified it as a fossilized rib bone from a sea cow.
So both this piece and the last piece found in North Carolina?
Yeah, both found in North Carolina.
Cool.
Yeah, we have some pretty cool fossils here, especially some of the more recent sediments. And the last fossil I want to share with you guys. Anyone know what this is?
Any guesses? Driftwood? Somebody said driftwood.
Very good guess. It's actually petrified wood. So it is wood. It's fossilized wood.
Nice.
And this is what North Carolina petrified wood looks like. So I don't know if you've seen the kind of stuff they have down in the petrified forest in Arizona. The sediments there are a little bit different, so fossilized with different rocks forming inside the specimen. So this is what North Carolina petrified wood looks like.
Nice. All three actually work well with what we've been working on because we've been working with making a clay sculpture to do with relationships.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you repeat that? I didn't quite catch that last bit.
It looks a bit like clay.
Yeah, it does. It does. So yeah, these they're the only 3 fossils I brought up, but they're all pretty cool. Different kinds of things that we have here, and we also have in North Carolina. We also have a lot of fossil shells, and we'll often find fossil shark's teeth and all that kind of stuff. So we actually have quite an abundance of fossils here. There's just a few examples of what we have. So is any more questions about the fossils?
I've got one. I saw an example of a raccoon that you had stuffed. I told them about it. Is a certain person in charge of just gutting and putting all that stuff back in for him?
I think we used to have in-house taxidermists, but we don't anymore. We outsource that to taxidermists for the mounted specimens, but the actual study skins, like the raccoon that you saw last week, we do have in-house scientists who actually work with our specimens, and they take out all the bones and the tissues, and they basically wrap the skin around a cotton body, and they use that for research purposes. So yeah, we do actually have somebody who makes the skins, like the one I showed you guys last week, but the actual taxidermied mounts are done by outside people now.
So if the students came in, could they touch the students to
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
if the students came in, could they touch the exhibits, or is there a worry about it falling apart?
Oh, in our room we have the reason our room is around is that we have a hands-on exhibit in the Naturalist Center, the collection there. It's surplus to research requirements, and it's actually a lot of good quality material, most of which can be handled and picked up. We do have some stuff in our rooms like permanent displays and mounts that we ask that people don't touch. But if you came up to our room, you'd be able to pick up that raccoon skin would be one of the items you could actually pick up, and the big bird study skin I showed you last time as well would be another item that you guys could pick up. We have all sorts of materials. We have things in jars, kind of like I'll use these smaller, kind of like these scorpions here. You can pick up and have a look at, in the jars like that as well. We have things in mounts like these Riker-mounted spiders that you can pick up and look at. So there's a lot of different kinds of specimens you can look at that just treated in different ways, and there's some that you can not touch just because of they're really delicate. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and it's really cool that you have jars of scorpions just sitting around.
Yeah, it's quite fun. I'll talk a little bit more about those guys in a little bit.
All right. Let me see if the kids have any questions for you. You guys got any questions about what you've seen so far?
Will we ever hold stuff like snakes?
Like a dead snake?
Yeah,
All right.
snakes or like snakes, stuff like that.
A student asked if they would be able to hold a dead snake.
So actually, we do have 3 types of snake-related materials that you could hold. The whole snakes are pickled in alcohol, so kind of like this jar of scorpions I just showed you. The snakes are usually kept in alcohol, so you could pick up the jar and look at the snake within the jar, but you wouldn't be able to pick up the whole specimen. We also have models of snakes, which are texturally modeled to be similar to how the snakes would feel.
Nice.
And
That the coral?
we also have snake hides, which are actually not shake sneds, but actually almost like snake leather is what I call it. The actual skins of snakes you can actually touch and actually feel what the snake feels like.
Right.
That's an alligator.
The next thing I have right here, here's a piece of alligator hide.
Cool.
The snake hide would look and feel similar depending on the species of snake.
We have a lot of students that have been doing sculptures of alligator. That'd be good for the texture when they're working on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we this is Katie's alligator hide here. We don't really have any alligator hide down in our Naturalist Center, but Katie has some here. But we do have other alligator material. So I'll show you a little bit of that too.
Cool. The snake we saw earlier, was that a poisonous snake?
It's a cool.
Yeah, it was a coral snake model. So yeah, quite poisonous.
Is there another snake that's very similar?
There are milk snakes that look similar, which are harmless.
They use that.
It's
Scarlet king snake.
garlic king snakes. Yeah.
So do we have anything like that here in North Carolina?
Sorry, the
Scarlet king snake.
scarlet king snakes. We'll just find a picture of that for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have one on here. Just a second. You want to talk about that?
But yeah, while we're waiting for that picture, I do have a couple of alligator specimens in here. If you guys want to see those next.
Yeah. Anything you got?
So right in front of me here is a
Nice.
large alligator skull, like a whole skull of an adult alligator, pretty large. This is one of the specimens we have out in our room. It's actually one you can touch. You obviously can't pick it up because it's such a large specimen. But we have 2 large alligator skulls in there, and you can sort of feel the different textures of the bone. You can see where some of the sensory pits they use to sense water vibrations are around the edge of the skull there. You see those little indentations there. That's the sensory pits they use to detect the environment around them. And then you can also see all the fenestrations, sort of holes in the skull where muscles attached to the powerful jaw muscles that they have. And
small little tiny holes for the sensory, would they be able to find like prey that way or not?
vibrations in the water, so they use that to detect movements in the water to find prey. It's one of the sensors they use. Obviously, they've got pretty decent vision, so they can hang around the water's edge and see, things moving around. And they also communicate with by using vibrations, in particular during the mating season. So it's another way they can pick up the vibrations from one another as well. So they have all these different sensory organs, so they can, perfectly adapted to living in water, really.
Cool.
The next closest thing I can think about that's similar to this is like the lateral line of a fish. What was that?
That was one of the examples for prey. We were working on symbiotic relationships, and we have the alligator getting his teeth cleaned by a bird, and the bird gets a free meal out of it.
Yeah, that's really cool. We have a picture. We have a nice picture of an alligator that was actually this is a very large specimen by North Carolina standards. This is from Brunswick County.
Wow.
So typically up here, because it's so cold, they don't tend to get so big. They usually get maybe 6 feet and not so big. But this guy's obviously a little bit bigger than that. He's quite fat, well fed. So yeah, occasionally you can get 10, 12-foot gators up here. It's quite rare, but it does happen.
So we could possibly lose some pets to those in maybe like Wilmington area.
Yeah. That's one of actually a large alligator. I think it was not far from Newbern or that area was actually killed and taken out by wildlife officers because I think it was a huge alligator, maybe 12 feet long, close to 800-900 pounds or something. Just came out of the water from nowhere. It was towards the end of last year or early last year sometime, and took a 200-pound dog without even really trying. So.
Wow. So it ate a 200-pound dog, like. So basically, we're looking at a very large pit bull or maybe German Shepherd-sized dog.
I think it was a pit bull that got taken.
Wow.
But yeah, the unfortunate thing is alligators in North Carolina are protected, and obviously large ones like that are rare. So the sad thing is there was a lack of awareness. This person went walking their dog in an area where there's alligators. The alligator attacked the dog, and because the alligator has now associated, people and their pets with food, it's deemed a risk. So they had to remove it and destroy it, which to me is kind of unfair, but that's what people do. But right here as well, just to give you some perspective, I've got a baby alligator in a jar here, and you can see him. Got a lot of stuff on my table here.
No, it's not a lot.
So if you just see that and compare it to the set of jaws next to it, you see how small they actually start out and how big they can get.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small alligators held in what type of fluid?
I'm sorry?
What type of fluid is the jar filled with?
Oh, this is filled with 95% ethanol. It's 95% alcohol.
So do they kill the animal first, or they just throw it in there?
Oh yeah, they kill the animal first normally. When you're collecting insects, like when I go and collect insects, obviously the way their respiratory systems and such work, you can throw an insect in alcohol and it'll die pretty quickly. But with things like this, you have to kill them in another way. It's a little bit more humane. So yeah, it's killed another way first and then stored in alcohol. And a lot of the specimens we get, snakes and things like that, would have been just found, roadkill that's been found, or stuff that people have found in the yards that they didn't want there. They killed it and brought it into us so we could use it. Yeah, that's alligators. Any questions about them?
Any questions about alligators? Go ahead, Audrey. Okay. Would we find those in Pitt County, do you know?
I believe they are down there, yeah.
Good. So you guys might want to watch out in a little creek or a swamp.
But they're not, the further north in the state you get, the rarer they become and the less likely they are to grow large because of the cooler conditions. But they do go close to the Virginia border. I think they were even in the Dismal Swamp there up in near Virginia. So
we'd just be looking at smaller.
oh yeah. I was actually got a range map here if you'd like to see this real quick. So this is a range map of alligators, and it's showing you. So they go from Texas all the way up to the coastal side. So eastern Texas all the way up to the coastal part of northern North Carolina, and maybe into southern Virginia a little bit too.
Wow.
So they got a pretty big range. Obviously, they're very common in places like Florida, Louisiana, and those parts of Texas where it's found. And actually, if you go down to South Carolina and in Georgia, they can be pretty plentiful and large there as well. So depending on where you go.
So they take North Carolina, but in other states like Florida, they can sell them.
I'm not sure about how selling them works. They're a native species, so I don't know about that. But they're not protected. There is actually a hunting season on alligators in Florida because they're so common in Florida. There's actually a season on them. So yeah, you can actually go and hunt when the season's on.
So instead of having deer season like we have here, they have gator season.
Obviously, in North Carolina, because they're comparatively rare, they're protected within the state. But in Florida, yeah, they have a season on them to control them because their numbers are so large.
Yeah. A lot warmer in Florida, better climate. A lot warmer.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
A lot warmer in Florida, so the climate would be better for the alligators.
Yeah, so the climate's better for them. They'll grow larger and they'll probably reproduce faster as well. So here they kind of slow down in the fall and the winter. In Florida, they can be active pretty much year round. So they have a much longer growing period and a lot more food around as well. A lot more food availability year round. So
cool.
So yeah, that's alligators. Unless there's any more questions about those guys.
Last call for questions about alligators. So we're good.
All right, I'm just going to shift a couple of things around real quick. So maybe I'll put this. You right to look at that. So now I'm going to talk a little. I'm a little bit biased. I'm going to talk about my favorite things now, the little creepy crawly type things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about arachnids in general, and then focus on a few of the spiders that are found in North Carolina. So to start with, this is a pretty large fishing spider. They're pretty common. They're found pretty much all across North America, and they can get pretty large, and they're often mistaken for things like tarantulas because they are so big. They're called fishing spiders because they can't actually catch fish. They can manipulate the surface tension of water and hang out on lily pads, and they actually use their pedipalps and front legs. These little things at the front here, near the jaws, are called the pedipalps. They're like a pair of arms, and the front legs, they use them to lure fish and tadpoles, and they can actually catch them.
So similar to like an anglerfish, they use those front legs to kind of catch the fish.
Yeah. So these little things at the front here, they're like a little pair of arms almost. They're called pedipalps. And then the front legs as well. They use them to lure fish and catch fish. That's probably the largest spider you'll see around here as well. That's easy to find. So related to that, I brought a few non-North Carolina things in just to talk a little bit about how arachnids are sort of variable in general, because I think it's pretty cool just to know about this. So right here, there's a vinegaroon. These are found in the southwestern United States, and not in North Carolina. But the really cool thing about these guys is they have this little tail at the. I don't know if you can see that. They have this little tail at the end here. I'm holding with these forceps, and they actually spray a vinegar solution out as a defense against predators that want to eat them. That's why it's called a vinegaroon. And this is an order of arachnids which is quite closely related to spiders. So I thought I'd share that because it's a pretty cool little beast.
Let me talk to you for just a second. It's called a vinegar. A vinegar what?
Rune.
Okay. That little stick in the back. Now, X is predator. That's pretty crazy looking. All right, you can go ahead. Thank you. Thank you.
And then obviously there's a few other things as well. So thanks. This one right here, I'm about to show you guys. This is the infamous camel spider. You know, the ones that people make stories about being 7 feet across and being able to eat people and pets and stuff. This is a really cool species of arachnid. The really cool thing about this thing is if you look at the bottom end here, from this point here to the end, that's its abdomen. And all this top part here is its head. And if you notice about its head, you see this line here, all these parts right from this, sort of from this line here, all the way to the edge, that's its jaws. So pretty much all of its head is jaws. And they're really muscular, really powerful. They don't have venom, but they have the strongest jaws proportional to their body size in the animal kingdom. So for their body size, they have the largest and strongest jaw of any animal.
Cool.
So that's pretty cool. I actually found this guy where I was in a previous job. I was doing some field work in Mexico, and I found this guy underneath my tent when I was camping out in the desert. He just came running out of there. So I thought it was a nice little story to accompany him. So this is another arachnid that's closely related to spiders.
So what kind of liquid was that?
It was alcohol as well. That was 70% alcohol.
All right. What got you into arachnids?
Sorry?
What got your interest into arachnids?
I don't know. I've always liked them. I always found them interesting. Probably because they do lots of really cool stuff. They look weird and they're predatory. They eat lots of different things. So, yeah. We actually have a pretty large tarantula in here that Katie was using for another program if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, we'd love to see it.
This one's alive.
Yeah. It's a salmon pink bird eater. It's one of the largest species in the world. It's from South America. They're native to Brazil, I think. Very large spiders.
Go for it. It's gonna be a spider. Yes, Audrey. I have a question for you.
Hell yeah.
They want every 5 or 6 that you walk, you will probably run into a spider.
5 or 6 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably even less than that. There's spiders everywhere. If you walk in a grass meadow in the summer, I can't remember the numbers, but it's something stupid like every square foot there's several hundred spiders.
Wow.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're pretty cool. And this so this guy is one of the largest tarantulas in the world. This salmon pink bird eater, and it's pretty big. I mean, this guy's at least the size of my hand. You can't see it very well, obviously, because he's on the screen there. But I don't know if I can do that
Picture of a tarantula.
for a bit of scale. Oh, he's moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a male. The way you can tell he's a male, I don't know if you can see it very easily, but on that leg he's got raised at the front,
Nice.
about an inch back, there's a little hook coming down, and that's what they use to grasp the females while they're mating.
Wow. All right, I've got a question from a student. Go ahead. You can look into the thing if you want.
I was saying, like, how do you, like, find the animals? Like, do you just find them dead and then take them in? Or, like...
That's a good question. So a lot of the materials that we have in our collection, we're not a research collection, so we don't typically go out and collect, are things that the researchers had gone and collected, but they don't need them or they don't have the right information for them to be useful for research. And then the second way we get specimens is people find roadkill, basically, and bring it into us. And it's a way that we can use the animals without them going to waste. You know, they bring them to us if they're still fresh enough, and we'll use the skins and the skeletons, anything we can, to educate people about these animals. So that's another way. And the last way we get specimens, especially the taxidermies, are sort of things that hunters don't want anymore. They've like gone out and they've have hunted something, they've made a taxidermy out of it, and they don't really want it, so they'll donate them to us.
Do you have anything too many examples of?
Sometimes we have too many rocks. The same thing. In our insect drawers in our room, for example, I think we have too many butterflies compared to other insects, because seashells is another thing we have too many things of. But if you're actually using them for research, you can't have too much of it because we use them for different things. So by comparing tons and tons of the same material, we can identify new species or unique populations, and things that we might need to protect or describe. There might be some new species in there we don't know about. So sometimes it's good to have a big series of things that look similar, because sometimes there's something in there that's different. It could be a new species.
Cool. So if I found a gray squirrel on the side of the road dead and brought it in, would you already have too many examples, or would you want to look at it because it's different and it's from this area?
Yeah, if you record the information about the animal, where you found it, the date you found it, where you found it, and all that information is useful. So yeah, they would use it.
Cool.
So I'm going to move the live spider out of the way. So actually, since we're on the topic of live and dead, I have another tarantula here, but it's not alive. If I can open this. I think it would be easy to keep in there. We pickle tarantulas in jars here. And again, it's usually kept in 70% alcohol. So this is a specimen that is usually out in our room and people can look at. And again, live and dead organisms have different values. So living organisms, like the one we showed you just then from our living collection, basically allows you to see the spider moving around. You can watch it hunt. You can see how it builds its retreat, how it matures into male and female. You can observe the life cycle and the ecology of the animal as far as you can in captivity, at least. The dead specimens allow us to do something a little bit different. They allow us to have a permanent specimen that represents that species, something you can compare new material against to see if you have a new species. And you can also use them to take DNA samples and just use them for basic anatomy and physiology educational purposes too. So the living and the dead collections both have different values.
Okay.
And they complement each other.
Have you ever found a new species or something like that?
Yeah, I have actually.
Cool. Like what?
There were these tiny flies that no one's really interested in. I didn't describe them, I only collected them. Some guys up in Canada who I was working with when I was doing my doctoral work described them. I just made a DNA tree to see where they went, basically, because I was looking at how different behaviors have evolved across a group of flies. So I was more interested in how they're related to each other than describing new species. And yeah.
Yes. What? Come on down.
The animals are like in bones, would it like no in alcohol, would it like turn into bones and stuff?
Oh yeah. They wanted
Can you repeat it?
Sorry. He wanted to know if it decays any when it's embalmed or when it's in the fluid.
No, that's the reason we have it in the fluid, actually. It's a preservative. It stops it from rotting.
So it will last years?
Indefinitely, as long as you keep on top of... over time, obviously, there'll be some kind of decay, but I've seen specimens in collections that are well over 100 years old, and if you keep changing out the alcohol every now and again, periodically, every couple of years, just to keep it fresh and topped up, it will keep the specimen fresh. And actually, that's a good question, because if you look at this fluid level here compared to this one, you notice that the one in my right hand with the white cap, the fluid level is a bit lower. So the alcohol in this fluid evaporates before the water, so that means the percentage of the alcohol content goes down. So you do actually have to top them up and sometimes completely change out the alcohol to keep it at the right concentration to keep the specimens fresh.
Okay.
I want to show you guys a couple more spiders. We've only got a few minutes left. These are some really cool spiders that are actually native to North Carolina. So the first thing I'm showing you is the closest thing that we have to tarantulas here. And this is a trapdoor spider. They're pretty common. You've got a lot of species down where you're from. In fact, there used to be a lab at East Carolina University in Greenville. They're not there anymore. They moved to Auburn. But they collected a lot of trapdoor spiders around there for the university. And they're very common. They're just difficult to find. You have to know what their burrows look like because their lids are always, the lids of the trapdoors that they build are blended into the background. So they're hard to find, but they're very common. And sometimes you'll find males. But this is the closest thing to a tarantula that we have.
Would you find a spider like that? Would it jump a lot, or would it just use this little hole?
They don't jump. They can lunge. They lunge out. When they hunt, they kind of. So this is a trapdoor lid here. They have silk threads that go out around the trapdoor, around their burrow, and when they feel prey coming nearby, they open the lid, kind of lunge out, and then grab it and pull it down the trapdoor tunnel.
Nice.
And the females will stay in their burrows for life. They don't move. The males will move when they're looking for females when they're mature. The only time you'll see them is sometimes after heavy rains. The females will get flooded out of their burrows, but typically that's why they're difficult to find and not many people know they're around here is because they just stay in their burrows. And they're hard to find because they're concealed as well. They're well blended into the background.
Cool.
And the second spiders I like to show you guys real quick are these guys here. These are giant golden orb weaving spiders. They're the largest spiders largest web spinning spiders in the Americas. They actually are found in North Carolina. We're kind of one of the most northern limits, and especially down towards the coast. You don't really see them very often inland. But they go all the way down to Mexico and Central America. They're quite common in Florida, and Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina down the coast. So this is another really cool spider that you guys could probably find down there. And these are much more visible, easy to find, and they're pretty big. You'd know it when you see them.
Do they shake their webs? Was that a different type of spider?
They do shake their webs, yeah.
I think it might have shaken some backyard.
Yeah. They should be pretty common where you guys are, and they'd be a really cool thing to study or just check up on if they're around, just out of interest. So, any questions about spiders and arachnids in general?
All right, guys. Last chance for asking. All right, what's your question? They wanted to know if wolf spiders are dangerous.
They're not really dangerous. They can give you a painful bite because they have pretty decent sized fangs, but the venom is not really that toxic. They do look intimidating, and they're actually pretty cool. There are a couple of different types of wolf spiders. Some of them dig burrows and hunt from their burrows, but most of them are active hunters. They just run around all the time looking for things to eat. That's why they're called wolf spiders, because a little bit like wolves, they're always on the move looking for where their prey is.
So that might have been one of the ones that jump around?
The ones that jump around are a different kind of spider, they're jumping spiders, and they're a different type of hunting spider. And the really cool thing about them is they have muscles that in spiders are similar to frog muscles. They work in a similar way, which allows them to jump.
Cool. You have another question? Oh, in just a second. Do spiders eat other spiders?
Oh yeah, quite often. There are actually a few species of spider that actually specialize in hunting other spiders. So yeah, that happens a lot. Spitting spiders, for example, they can actually spit their silk at other spiders and trap them from a distance, so the other spider is at a disadvantage, and they'll come and bite it and eat it. So yeah, spitting spiders is an example. A lot of jumping spiders, because they're very visual and have very good vision, will also attack other spiders. So yeah, it happens a lot. And then obviously there's cannibalism within species. Sometimes members of the same species will eat each other.
Cool. Another question? No? Do the female spiders ever eat the male after mating?
Yeah, that happens in a lot of species. Not all the time, but it can happen. It happens quite frequently in some. And that's why the black widow has got its name, basically, because the females often eat the males.
Nice. I thought it was just like praying mantis and stuff like that, but that's good to know. Oh, sorry. Desmond.
We have time for like 2 more questions, and we're gonna have to finish on our end. So.
I got 2 questions. Adrian, is there such a thing as a rolling spider?
As a what, sorry?
A rolling spider?
There is a kind of wolf spider in the Namu Desert in Africa. If it gets attacked by one of its worst predators, they build their burrows on the top of sand dunes, and they can actually roll down the hill to get away from their predators. So yeah, some spiders do that.
Cool.
But, I'm not sure about here, but I know some African wolf spiders do that, yeah, in the desert.
All right. Last question. All right, go ahead. Oh, just a sec. Spiders? Everywhere. Flowers. All right. How many different types of spiders are there?
Right now, there's about 50,000 described species of spider. The estimate is much higher. There's probably at least 100, maybe 150,000 species. And we're finding new species all the time. The problem with spiders is they have something called what we call a conserved morphology, which means their body shapes are very similar. So sometimes it can be very hard to tell different species apart. But now that we can use DNA, and there's a lot more cheaper ways to sequence DNA to compare between different spiders, it's easier to find new species using that method now. So I'm guessing I think there's probably a lot more than 100,000 species. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Well, thank you for your time with this. You got it.
Oh, you're welcome, guys. Thanks for your questions. They're all good.
Awesome. You have a good day, sir.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
All right. All right, so that's kind of cool, right? Not every day that you get to talk to a scientist, yeah.